And when you're watching this. If you're watching it live, it's a good morning to you because each and every Sunday I hop on here at 8 a.m., 8 to 8:30 to answer your garden questions and to talk a little bit about the world of gardening, what's going on, motivate you to get you out there and get you growing. But you could be watching this at any time. You could be watching it on Facebook, you could be watching it on Twitter, you could be watching it on LinkedIn, you could be watching it on YouTube. But the whole purpose of this is for me to kind of inspire you and help you through the journey of gardening. My name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers of City Line's Breakfast Television. Oh, you know what? I don't have the other mic plugged in. Hopefully, my audio is really nice today. Make sure you guys give me the thumbs up with audio. Are we good? Let me just check something here because muted. Don't do that. That's not good. Boom, 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 boom. I'm just going to go to audio and microphone is working good. So good. We should be good. So hey, there we go. Paula Polly saying good morning to me. So I know that if Paula's out there, that everything's working fine as well. Matthew Amos is there this morning as well. Good morning, Matthew, to you. Paula has given me thumbs up. Thanks, Paula. Thank you very much, Paula. So once again, my name is Frank Ferragini, aka Frankie Flowers of City TV's Breakfast Television and City Line. You can see me Monday through Fridays on Breakfast Television. I always joke, I'm a product of child labor, but as a matter of fact, my family are greenhouse growers and they have two garden centers, both located, well, one located in Bradford, the other located in Barrie, so both north of Toronto. Bradford Greenhouse Garden Gallery, go check them out, lots to go on there. I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author as well, so I'm here to help you guys out. I'm gonna throw my classes here because I got lots of people excited because why should we be excited? Well, we should be excited because tomorrow, Monday, March the 20th, spring 2023 officially arrives for the calendar year. That doesn't mean that we're right into spring weather, but that does mean that the time that we start to garden outdoors is getting ever so closer, and this can be one of the busiest times. It's actually one of the busiest times for greenhouse growers, like my family business, like many across Ontario and Canada, as they're planting, preparing, and getting ready for everybody out there that wants to get out there and wants to get into spring. We got another good morning this morning from Penny. Good morning to you. We got Jane saying a good morning from lovely Ancaster, Ontario. Love Ancaster. Bowmanville, Lori, good morning to you as well. Diane saying good morning as well. We got a good morning from the nation's capital this morning, Ottawa as well. Ashley Brown is saying good morning from Maston and myself as well. There's that good morning shout out as well from Ottawa as well. And then just to the west of Ottawa from Belleville, Ontario. Okay, a couple things. And for all those that said good morning, thank you very much. And we're going to continue to do that. A couple things that I want to get through here is number one, coming up this coming weekend on March the 25th, but the show is actually a little bit longer than that. I want to give a shout out to Cottage Life Show. So the Spring Cottage Life Show is happening this coming weekend. That will be at the International Center in Toronto. You can see on the main stage at 11 a.m., you will see me, aka Frankie Flowers, speak on low impact gardening. There's also right after me is Mike Holmes Jr. He's going to be talking a little bit about renovations that add to your property. So I got another 10 pairs of tickets to give away. For those that want those 10 pairs of tickets, what we're going to do for this time is all you have to do is share. So what that means is if you're watching this right now on Facebook, you're going to go down to the bottom of the screen there. You're going to see just above where the comments are, and you're going to see a thing called share. So if you share that, that means that we're sharing our knowledge to others. Then I will enter you into the contest, and I will select 10 at random. Those 10s will be put out on Wednesday. Those tickets will be put on Wednesday. We got a couple other shout outs this morning. Bill Kennedy, good morning. Hope you had a great St. Patrick's Day. I had a nice, quiet St. Patrick's Day. I will fully confess, guys, I was kind of a little bit tired last week because on this side of my body, I have shingles. Yeah, and I know many people have had it before. It's usually a sign that you're overtired or a weakened immune system. So good times. Good times. You never know what life's going to bring you, but I'm all good. Good morning, Frankie from Arlene in Mississauga. Thank you for the morning enlightenment. That's what we're here. Go Leafs go. I love that. You know, usually here we want to talk about Maple Leafs in terms of Acer, which is the variety of tree, not the maple leaves. Yes, maple leaves go, Leafs go. Carol Grover saying good morning from there as well from Belleville. But we have Susan. And Susan, of course, is a landscape designer, installer, garden maintenance. Her company is up in Muskoka. It's best way to describe it, in cottage country. What are your thoughts on clover lawn? I have a client wanting to change her lawn to clover in cottage country. So clover lawns have become a lot more popular, but really what the lawn should be is a mixture of clover and lawn seed at the same time. Clover is green, soft to walk on, and generally we're cutting the lawn before it's going to go into bloom. Clover as well is good in poor soils and will do well in more shaded locations. So clover lawn's not it's decent. It's really decent. It's really an aesthetic. So if the aesthetic looks good and they like the aesthetic, then I would encourage them to do so. But you want to make sure that the edges on the gardens are really quite good, because we don't want that clover going on and then into the garden itself. Ensmore, Ontario, we got a Go Leafs Go there from Brandon Allen too. The share is done. Thank you very much, Diane. We got a good morning from Muskoka this morning. We also have a good morning this morning from Ensmore, and Brandon is loving growing garlic. So garlic, what a fantastic plant to grow. Typically, you're going to be planting your garlic, those cloves of garlic that then grow into bulbs in the fall. Then what we're doing is we're going to watch them grow during the spring season. In about June to July, you'll start to see these little bulbs on the top that grow, and then they spin around. Those are called scapes. We remove the scapes so they size up the bulb. Once the top in late August starts to turn brown, we're starting to see the top of the garlic brown and or yellow. That means your garlic's ready at that time. You can still do an early spring planting of the cloves, and for some varieties of garlic, you can still get some garlic out there. But garlic is an amazing, amazing thing to grow. We got another shout out from a beautiful place in the province, from Lion's Head. Good morning to you. There's another comment there from Brandon. Garlic Frankie, I'd love to come on PT. I'm a Special Olympics athlete. We would love to have you there. And Brandon, we just recently did the motion ball. Well, I was a person who attended the motion ball for Special Olympics and met many of you. So I hope it was really a pleasure by the way as well. We got people shouting out this morning from Delray Beach, Florida. Okay, there's a couple shout outs. We got another good morning as well this morning from Haggett. We got a good morning. We'll just give one more there from Lyle, Ontario. Lyle's not too far from my family garden center in Barrie as well. So I want to draw some attention. I want to give another shout out. We're just going to pull Deborah down there. We're going to go, let me just do here. Cancel, boom, on my own one-man show here, doing it all. So we're just going to go here I want to show you guys the Toronto Botanical Gardens, TBG. I get a lot of people that ask me about hellebores. Hellebores are a perennial plant, also known as the winter rose. The reason why a hellebore plant is known as the winter rose is it's basically blooms during the winter period. Sometimes called the Christmas rose as well. An amazing plant. And also there is a hellebore sale at the Toronto Botanical Gardens. You can see April 1st, 2023, of course, 10 to 4 while supplies last. Watch the space to pre-order your first blooms of the year. Pick up only from TBG. And you can see that there's a shop now button that's right there. So you can go there and click on that shop now button, and you can see all the different varieties of hellebore that they have. So if you're interested in growing some of the winter rose and supporting a great organization, check out that with TBG. Now, I also, at the same time, as we're talking a little bit about TBG, as many of you know, I'm a member and a board member, that is, of RBG, the Royal Botanical Gardens. And I want to, where are we there? Give a shout out to the Royal Botanical Gardens, to another great event, which is coming up in mid-April, but a good time for you to plan it right now, is the Bonsai Society Show. So this is April 15th and 16th, 10 to 5 at RBG Center, which is Royal Botanical Gardens Center in Burlington, Ontario at 680 Plains Road. You're going to see a whole bunch of amazing bonsai. And some of these bonsais are going to be worth several thousands of dollars. So those are a couple things that you can check out. Another thing that I just want to draw some attention to, And if you guys are getting a little bit gloomy because we just found out that the month of January and February, and even into March, has been some of the grayest months that we've seen on record weather-wise, even though we have some nice sun just popping out this morning. But if you want to get an inspiration, a beautiful color, and you want to go to a really cool conservatory in downtown Toronto, Allen Gardens Conservatory is an amazing space. Oh, just going to get rid of that. You can see here all the different plant material. There's different installations that they'll do during the season. Yeah, they have a collection of turtles in there as well, some fish. It is an absolutely stunning place. You can see on TripAdvisor, it has a really good rating as well. So if you're looking for a way to get out of winter, get more into spring, and get inspired, go check that out as well. So John Scott is saying good morning to us from Peterborough. Sherry's also agreeing with us that garlic is so easy. Karen saying good morning from Burlington this morning. I've got to find out if we got any Kenora. We got a shout out to Kenora this morning. I'm just looking down here. We got Connie saying good morning as well. Let's go to Kimberly because Kimberly has a question here. That's a good morning from Markham, but then we're going to pop over to Kimberly. Kimberly, if I plant perennial grasses in outdoor urns this summer, will they survive the winter outside? The likelihood of them surviving is very low. And the reason why most perennial plants and even trees and shrubs, as soon as we put them in a container, the reason why we reduce their success is that container just freezes that much more solid. It doesn't have the soil mass around it to provide insulation. It doesn't really get a snow load on top of it to provide insulation. And so generally, if you are selecting something to overwinter in an urn, if you're in a zone 5, you want to select something that's hardy to at least 2 zones colder to zone 3. Most of the larger ornamental grasses aren't the ones that are going to look the best in those urns that are the varieties that are hardy to zone 3. So what I would recommend is for you to put those ornamental grasses in pots in the urns, and then come fall, pull those pots out, plant them into your garden, pot and all, the perennial grass and pot in all, into the garden, into the ground, and then you can always pull them and slide them over into those pots year after year. But you will need to divide them because they will get a little bit big. Here we go with another question. Good morning. Can you please share how to properly water a rubber plant? So this is a video that we're working on right now. And we're working on this video with Amanda. And you will be seeing in the next couple of weeks is how often and when and why should you water indoor plants, of course, but it's more how often. So your rubber plant, depending upon the size of the pot, that's going to really be, so for instance, if this Sansevieria that I have right here, that's in an 8-inch pot, that's going to need more watering in an 8-inch pot than what that Sansevieria will need in a 12-inch pot. So the larger the pot, less watering it's going to need because it has more soil mass. Other thing is how much light did we receive that week? So I just told you it's been a fairly dark and dreary January and February. So our indoor plants didn't need as much water, but now that we're getting more light and our daylight hours are getting longer, we need to water more often. And how much light is that room getting? So that rubber plant, most likely if we get typical amounts of light, it's in a 10-inch pot, you should be watering it once a week or once every other week. That's really about it. So you're watering it 2 to 3 times per month. If we have a really cloudy month, it may be only watering it once that month. But the best way to do is to test the soil. So really, you're wanting the rubber plant still to see that soil dry in between waterings. So we want to take our finger, stick your finger into the soil, and if the soil feels dry, then you're going to remove your finger, of course, and then water it. If it feels moist, then you don't water. We got a good morning from St. Catharines this morning. Good morning to you. We also have Candy here that's saying, sprouted a mango seed in wet paper towel. There's a big shoot coming out, almost like a clam. Is it ready for soil yet? Hi, Frankie. Yes, indeed. I would put that into soil. If it has the shoot going out, indeed, I would put it right into soil right away. Make sure you're using a potting soil. Put it into, I would just use a grower pot, but you want to make sure that pot has good adequate drainage as well. Keep the moisture fairly even. And even after you put it into the pot, you don't want to bury the entire mango pit. You want to actually leave where that piece is starting to come out of. You want to leave that exposed, so cover it all except that little area that's exposed. And you can even put a little bit of a plastic saran wrap over the top until it really starts to shoot a little bit more. Once it starts to shoot a little bit more and almost just touching that plastic, then remove the plastic. That will maintain humidity in there. We have another shout out this morning from Barry. You know Barry well. I split my peony plant pink, and one of them is coming up a deep red color, and the petal is different. Why would this happen? Even though it was pleasant surprise. Thanks. So, Kathy, sometimes so there are herbaceous peonies, and a herbaceous peony is a wooded peony that is actually one that's been hybridized and or grafted. So if you do have a hybridized peony, the division of that peony can actually sometimes revert it back to its original variety. And this would make sense because if it's a lighter pink, generally sometimes to create the lighter pink, they're taking a white and a red and actually hybridizing those two together to create a pink. So now it's reverting back to its original variety. And that's just how life is. Sometimes the strongest one, like Darwin, the strongest one will overtake there. Mary Johnson is saying, I was there a few years ago, is a must-see when you're in the city for sure. That's Allen Gardens. Allen Gardens is a really, really cool space. I actually like going there more so in the summer because some of the pictures outside and some of the gardens outside are really quite nice. Edwards Gardens, a really good one. Centennial, there's a conservatory over at Centennial Park, which is really quite nice as well. So there's some really great ones. Hamilton actually has a very nice conservatory as well that I attended to before. So there's so many around. Just getting a little coffee there, a little coffee break. So we got another question here. Brought my tropical plants in the house for winter. Good idea, Deborah. They were thriving, but by my pool all summer, and suddenly they're not doing well. Help. So what I would recommend is do not overwater. So don't think that water is the solution. Allowing them to dry is always a better solution. Now, because our daylight hours are getting longer and we've been watering all winter long, that is, and really any fertilizer that was there, we're washing out. Now is the time to start fertilizing your indoor plants. And you can use an all-purpose Miracle-Gro or all-purpose tropical plant food by Miracle-Gro and fertilize. So every time you're watering right now, I would do a fertilizing. So at least once a month or once every other week, and start to really, because now that the daylight hours are getting longer, they're actively growing and they need some food to support. I just fertilized a bunch of my indoor plants just this weekend as well. Lisa saying good morning from Rice Lake. Lucky you that you're there in Rice Lake. We have Diane. Frankie, do you eat garlic scallions? Yes, you do. Pick your garlic when the stalk left from picking scallions turns brown. So the scallions themselves, you can either fry them, cook them in butter. They're fantastic. You can add them just like you would garlic to some of your recipes. You can also pickle the scallions. And I've seen this many times done before. And then they use those instead of the pickled bean. They'll use those in a Caesar. Good morning to my garden man from Curtis. Good morning, Janet, to you. We got another question that's here from Ashley Brown. Should the geraniums be brought out of storage now? Yes, I would. I would be bringing your geraniums out. I'd be introducing them to light, providing them with moisture. So those ones that if you, depending upon how you stored your geraniums, if you did hang them, now's when you're putting them in soil and you're going for it. We got Mary Ann. Hello, Frankie from Beaton. Breakfast Television will actually be in Beaton tomorrow morning. I won't be there, but they'll be there for an animal rescue. So that'd be kind of fun to watch that's there. This is what I like too. This is what I want to give a shout out. So you can see replying to Kimberly Roberts, how Susan's replying. So this is what Susan's giving some recommendations on how to help her with those perennial planters. And that's the whole idea of this community is I'm using my garden experience to help you, but there's also a lot of garden knowledge that's on here watching. So if you see in the comments a question that you know the answer to, I encourage you to go out there and share your knowledge because I can't get to all the questions, by the way. And sometimes even by when you share your knowledge, I'm also able to learn a little bit more. So it actually helps me out at the same time. Marianne, good Sunday morning from Bolton this morning. We got another shout out this morning from Joe Davis. Good snow covered morning from Halliburton. Beautiful sun is shining here. hopefully shining bright on everyone today. That's a great way to be too. Yeah, it's been like, if we look at the month of March, we've had a snowy month of March in Southern Ontario. We really didn't have much snow in January, didn't have much snow in February, but man, did March come in, and did March actually give us a ton of snow. And there we go. Next weekend is the 25th of March. We only have 2 more weeks left, and we're back right into April right away. Morning from Copetown we have this morning. A snowy start to beautiful sun. I thought there was Canada Blooms at the home show. Once again, thank you so much for the home show tickets. So Valerie, so with the home show, Canada Blooms is no longer partnered with the home show. I used to sit on the board of directors of Canada Blooms as well, because it is a production of Landscape Ontario. Right now, Canada Blooms is without a location and or home, and with a question mark is the best way to say it. We are working on some different things for Canada Blooms. My wish, my hope, is for Canada Blooms to become an outdoor garden show, one that maybe would feature more so a little bit later in the season. Maybe it would be more of a fall celebration. That way we could actually, instead of wasting all the plants that are forced, and there are some plants that do go back to the compost, then we can do some more permanent installations and do some plant trials and things like that. But you're welcome for those tickets. Candy, once again, if you share today, so if you go and you're watching us on Facebook, which Candy is, you go down and you hit share. So you see what we're doing right now, and you can see over by the comments that button share. That'll enter you into a draw. That draw this week will be for, I have 10 sets of pairs, 10 pairs. So you win a pair of tickets to the Cottage Life Show, the Spring Cottage Life Show coming up next weekend, and I'm speaking there on Saturday. We have a good morning to Rosie this morning from Orangeville. Good morning to you. Good morning. We're going to go right here to this one. Good morning, Frankie. My partner is looking to start growing tomatoes from seeds instead of from buying tomato plants that is already sprouted. What is your advice to start growing tomatoes? So, Connie, first off, is that he has to start them this week. This is prime time for tomato sowing, and you should have maybe even the last 7 days done it by that time. The tips: one tomato plant is enough for a family of 4. So you usually want to plant 2 in case one dies. So key is how much space do you have and how many tomatoes do you have or want. Secondly, what you want to do is you want to plant those tomatoes that you enjoy. Is it a cherry tomato that you want, a slicing tomato that you want, an heirloom tomato that you want? Probably the easiest tomato to get growing and to do well with would be an early girl bush. It's a mid-sized fruit. It's actually VFN, which means it's virus-free. So actually, there's not as many viruses that are there. It's a nice medium size that I mentioned for slicing, and it's one of the earliest to harvest. So that's a really good one to start. Some of the heirloom varieties, just a reminder, those ones there are indeterminate tomato varieties, which means that they're a vine-type tomato, which they get pretty big. So when he's purchasing his tomato seeds, make sure that he looks to make sure that if you don't have a lot of space, you want to get a determinate and or bush variety, smaller tomato plant. If you have space and you can stake them, then you can go to the vine type indeterminate tomatoes that are there. So there's a little bit of advice for you there. Shout out to the Essex Horticultural Society. Sandy, good morning to you as well. We got a good shout out from a beautiful location in Ontario, which is Tobermory, which is really great for you there. We have a shout out as well from Marianne. How often should you change the soil in your containers to ensure the best growth? I usually if your containers had disease, you want to remove all that soil, and then you want to wipe the container itself with bleach so that it's sterile, and then you want to put new soil in. I usually like to add a third of new soil each and every season to my containers, at least a third to my new soil to my containers each and every season. It could be a container, a Miracle-Gro potting soil, a Miracle-Gro container soil, or anything like a container and potting soil is the best for you to go that's out there. Lorraine, hi Frankie, should I keep my seedlings in darkness? So your seedlings don't need to see any light until they sprout. Once they sprout is when they need light to support them. So you don't need to have any light, so they can be in complete darkness. And that's like even at the greenhouse. At the greenhouse, we have a germination chamber, which is basically a big steam room, is the best way to describe it. It's dark. So after we sow the seeds, we put them into the chamber. When they're in the chamber, we put them in there for a few days until the seeds crack. And then we move them out and put them on benches so they start to get light. So as soon as the seeds have sprouted and or crack, then that's when we move them out. So I call the germination chamber, this is bad, I know, shouldn't be saying it, but I call the germination chamber our crack house. It's a greenhouse crack house. It's bad, I know. I'm not always appropriate. There you go. Morning from Flaremouth, Nova Scotia, and the Mount Denson Garden Club. Tracy, good morning to you, and good morning to all the garden clubs out there. If you guys want to send me an email, frankie@frankieflowers.com, frankie@frankieflowers.com. If you have a CD Saturday coming up, if you have a plant sale coming up, if you have some of the events coming up, send them to me. I'll put them on here, and we can share and get people excited. My good friend Jim Holmes, good morning to you, my friend there in Barrie, Ontario. I think it's Jim from Barrie. Matthew's been asking this question for a little bit. How was your night last night? And I watched a movie last night, and I watched Jurassic World Dominion last night. Have you seen it? No, I have not seen that yet. My night last night was quite nice. I actually went for dinner with my parents, my boys, my cousin, and we went to a little restaurant in Aurora, Ontario called Casa Carbone. Really recommend it. Really good. It's got Italian food. It's got some wonderful steaks, kind of family atmosphere. You can put the tables together, so 10 of you can sit together really easy. So that's Casa Carbone. Give a shout out to those guys there. Lorraine, hi Frankie, just planted my seeds and wondering if the seedlings need darkness until they sprout. From Brampton. As I just said, they don't need darkness, but they don't need light. What a seed needs to sprout is it needs heat, humidity are the two things, and moisture, right? So it needs to have contact with soil. It needs to have warm conditions. So sometimes putting a heating pad underneath, humidity, but that's usually when you're watering. So the water that's sitting in the tray, because after you sow the seeds, you got to water. Those are the elements it needs. When it sprouts, that's when it needs light. Can it be in light before it sprouts? Yes, because it's underneath the soil. It's not seeing any light whatsoever. That's why for sprouting, you don't necessarily need to have them in light, but after they sprout, they need to be in light. I hope I explained that well. Here we go with another one this morning. I'd love plant suggestions for a 2x10 area in a front deck, part sun and south facing prairie garden. Thanks. So part sun and south facing. So if it's south facing, it should be more sun than just part sun. So there might be something that's covering the top of it. If it does have a cover over the top, then the issue that you're going to have there is that water will never get to that little area underneath because the overhang will restrict the amount of natural water. So you have to water a little bit more often. Generally, something like this, if we think prairie garden, I think echinacea. So right away, I think coneflowers. Super great plant that's a little bit later season blooming. You can put some spring flowering bulbs in there. So you're planting those in the fall to give you some of that early spring color that you can do. You can do some ground covers in there too. If you're thinking about just kind of, so you can even put a collection of echinacea coneflowers and then maybe some sedums as ground covers that are in there. Love to see a picture of this area, Carol. So send me a picture, Frankie@frankieflowers.com. Frankie with an IE at frankieflowers.com. It's snowing in Brantford this morning. That's because of the wind. So we're getting still some wind. So we could see some flurries on and off through the day today. Here's another little comment. This was, I love the idea of an autumn show. TJ, yeah, this is something that we're working on. So you'll see. I'm going to take this as one of our last questions. Took my bergamesia from the fruit cellar, and they are now growing beautifully. Amazing, Valerie, because now daylight hours are getting longer. We can start to bring those things to more light. Those hibiscus that maybe you had in a room that they weren't looking so great, now they're maybe putting on some new growth. Well, you can even prune them back by a third, start fertilizing. Really important for you. I'm going to take one more. Well, Patricia from Newfoundland, we got to give Patricia a shout out. And then we have another comment this morning and/or question from Jim Holmes. Hey, Frank, I bought 2 peonies the other day. Any hints of giving them the best chance once the ground thaws here in Barrie? So if you bought the peonies right now, Jim, and you bought them in the packaging where they're just the roots themselves, first thing that I would do is if you do have a cantina, like a cool room, like a fruit cellar, just put those in the fruit cellar and let them be there. As soon as we start to see ground frost get out of the ground, more so towards late April, you can plant them in your garden. So you're going to plant them in the garden in a sunny locations. Peonies will do best in sun. If you want to get them to have a little bit of a jump start in mid-April, you can start them in pots, in potting soil in your home. And then as soon as frost is done, you move them outside into the garden. But right now, if you did buy them as the pre-packaged roots, if you can put them in an area that's cool and dark like a fruit cellar, that's the best spot for them. So we're going to end that on there today because we are at 30 minutes. I hope everybody had a fantastic day overall. Well, we'll have a fantastic day. Thanks for joining me this morning. Once again, I will be at the Cottage Life Show coming up this Saturday at 11 a.m. That's at the International Center in Toronto, right over by the airport. If you're looking for things to do, maybe learn more about gardening, check out Toronto Botanical Gardens, check out the Royal Botanical Gardens website. Lots of information there. You can also check me out. I'm just going to show you guys as well. You can also find out more information about everything about me on the website, frankieflowers.com. Make sure you join the newsletter. You can do that on the website. Just go scroll down to the bottom. You can join there. And if you have any other additional questions or want to send me pictures, it's Frankie at frankieflowers.com. Have a wonderful Sunday, everybody. Keep blooming. We'll see you soon. Ciao for now.